Welcome inside Sports Authority Field in the mile-high city of Denver, where the undefeated season is no more for the New England Patriots. They blow a 21-7 lead and lose in overtime to the Denver Broncos, led by Brock Osweiler. Final score 30-24. I'm joined by Christopher Price, the expert columnist for WEEI.com, covering the Patriots. Obviously, the loss is big, but obviously the only story really everybody is talking about after the game, Chris, the injury to Rob Gronkowski. Darian Stewart with a hit on his right knee late in the fourth quarter. He gets carted off the field, assisted off the field, x-rayed, and then it appears that it is a right knee injury. We don't know the severity. Adam Schefter after the game tweeted that it doesn't appear to be too serious right now, but Patriots Nation obviously holding their breath.
I think that's the biggest concern coming out of this game. I think that you feel pretty good about yourself. If you're a Patriots fan, you came into Denver, you didn't have Danny Amendola, you didn't have Julian Edelman, you didn't have Jamie Collins, and you still came that close to winning this football game. You were able to get a really good special teams performance for the most part, other than Chris Harper's muff punt, which really in a lot of ways proved to be almost a difference maker for this team. But yeah, I think the biggest story right now is the health of Rob Gronkowski. We've seen multiple reports in the moments after the game from Adam Schefter, Albert Breer, a handful of other reporters saying that it is a relatively, and I stress relatively here, minor injury, one that could have him back before the start of the postseason. If he is back before the start of the postseason, you have to feel good, again, if you're a Patriots fan, about the state of this team. I think that as it stands right now, you look at the Patriots and you look at the rest of the AFC, and you still consider them to be one of the top two teams. The biggest key right now for New England is keeping things together, so much so that you need to get that bye. You need to get one of those top two seeds. I don't think that's out of the question, especially when you look at the rest of the schedule for New England. You look at Philadelphia, you look at Tennessee among them. Those, you feel good about those games, those matchups. There's some road games, the Jets, Miami, that could get a little bit dicey. But
Houston.
Exactly, Houston. But at the same time, I think this team still sets up to be one of the top two teams in the AFC East, even if you don't have Gronkowski. Ultimately, though, at the end of the day, if he's healthy or if he's not healthy, if it's a minor thing, if it's a 3-week thing, 4-week thing, whatever, you put him on ice until the start of the postseason.
I was able to hang out under the tunnel and in the back area outside the x-ray room where Rob Gronkowski was getting examined. I saw him walk from the x-ray room to the Patriots locker room. It wasn't a pronounced limp, but he was walking slowly and deliberately, as you might imagine. He also got dressed in the locker room with sweatpants on. We couldn't tell really if he had a brace on.
Yeah, and that's the thing for me. If you're a Patriots fan and you're clinging to positives out of this, the fact he was even in the locker room at the end of the game, he didn't talk to the media.
Right.
The fact he was there, he walked out of the locker room under his own power. You had the video of him walking out, after getting checked out. I think those are small positives at this point. But again, this is the kind of thing that's going to continue to play out in the coming days. You're going to have to see how healthy he is because, again, like we've said numerous times, he is the game changer. He's the difference maker for this offense. He is the best tight end in the league. He's one of the best offensive options in the league. If you have him, you're up here. If you don't have him, you're still kind of part of the mix.
You come back to the middle, really.
Exactly. I mean, you don't have that pronounced difference between you and the rest of the AFC that you would if he was in your lineup.
Tom Brady was asked point blank after the game, did you think it was a dirty hit? I mean, we saw, ironically, T.J. Ward, who ended his season back in 2012 when Ward was with the Browns. He got hurt in this game with an ankle injury. He didn't return, but it was another hit to Gronk's same knee that sent him out of this game. And Tom Brady asked after the game, was it a dirty hit? And he said, no, not really. If you ask any defensive back, they're going to go low now because of the dangers of going up high and getting fined and suspended.
Yeah, and this needs to be said. I understand the frustration and the level of anger from Patriots fans. At the same time, that's the only way you can take down Rob Gronkowski if you're a defensive back. You can't grab him up around the shoulders. You're going to get trucked, quite frankly. It's not the best course of action if you're a 180-pound defensive back to try and bring down a guy like Rob Gronkowski. You have to go low. And these are the circumstances. This is what happens when you go low, these sorts of knee injuries. The injury tonight, it was not a violent collision. It wasn't a case, I don't think it was a case of a guy deliberately going at the knees to try and injure Gronkowski. We've seen that before in the past, defensive players trying to do that. But at the same time, I think it needs to be stated that the NFL, as it exists today, and Rob Gronkowski, as he exists today, that's the best way to bring him down. You got to go for the knees.
And we should also mention in this game, the Gronk injury overshadows another injury, and that is to Dante Hightower. He had his left knee wrapped heavily when he came back on the field for the second half after suffering an injury in the first half. He did not play the rest of the game. Your thoughts on losing him again, what that does to the Patriots defense with Jamie Collins trying to work his way back maybe next week?
I think that it wasn't the only reason the Broncos were able to get good yards on the ground at the second level, but it wasn't a complete coincidence that as soon as he went out of the game, I think it was 1 or 2 plays later, the Broncos got their first touchdown of the night on a 19-yard run. I think that that's something that needs to be examined. And when the Patriots are completely healthy at the linebacker position, they're one of the best groups of linebackers in the NFL. If Jamie Collins comes back healthier, if he can play next week, you feel better about where the linebackers are. Dante Hightower, we have no idea. We didn't see him in the locker room. We have no idea about his health at this point. So that's still an X factor. But I think you get Collins back, you start rounding into form because, quite frankly, defensively, other than the loss of Hightower here, this was a good defensive performance against a good offense. Right. Brock Osweiler, I thought, was very impressive on a number of levels, was able to make consistent throws, 1, 2, and 3 on short, intermediate, and deep balls. Malcolm Butler played a competitive game. I thought the Patriots defense gave them everything that they could have asked for tonight. I thought it was a great performance. You don't like the 30 points. That's the thing at the end of the day. That's the ultimate measuring stick. You gave up 30 points. Still at the same time, your defense was competitive. I think they did a good job. But really right now, like we said, the X factor is this linebacking crew.
And for the first time in several years, and I'm going to give props here to Ryan Hannibal, the Patriots score 24 points and don't win a football game, as C.J. Anderson ran around the left side again without Hightower in there for the Patriots defense and ended the game in overtime with a 48-yard run on a 3rd and 2. I mean, the Patriots, nobody circles wagons. All due respect to Chris Berman and his Buffalo Bills of the 90s. Nobody circles the wagons after injuries like the New England Patriots. That's what they've got to do with a very wounded Eagles team coming to town next week.
Yeah, and again, I think you look at the schedule the rest of the way, the 5 games that are remaining on New England's regular season schedule. Again, you have a wounded Eagles team. You have the Titans. You go on the road to face the Texans. I think that's going to be a sizable challenge. You're looking at a Dolphins team that's fundamentally circling the drain right now, and you're looking at a Jets team that week to week you don't know what you're going to get. I think right now, and I hate to play this game, but you go win-loss on the schedule. That sets up, to me, if everything goes south, if you have a horrible rest of the year and you end up losing guys to injury and you play like garbage the rest of the way, you can still go 13-3. And 13-3 is still good enough to, at least in my mind, get one of those first 2 seeds. That's the key right now. More than ever, this team, with the injuries they've had to Amendola, Edelman, Gronkowski, Hightower, whatever, you need that bye. You got to get healthy because I've written about this on a handful of occasions. Momentum's way overrated at this time of year. It's all about health. And if you're healthy going into the postseason, that's the biggest key for this team.
All right, that'll be a wrap here from Sports Authority Field in Denver, where, again, the undefeated season comes to an end. There will be no hype the rest of the year, and I think, to a degree, thankfully so, about going 19-0 as the Patriots fall to 10-1 with a 30-24 overtime loss at the hands of the Denver Broncos, who, by the way, Chris, improved to 9-2 on the season, so they're just 1 game back, along with the Cincinnati Bengals, in that race in the AFC. Inside Gillette Stadium, he is Christopher Price. I'm Mike Petraglia, WEEI.com.